Hello, and welcome to the PA Path Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Southern Illinois University Medicine Online Doctor of Medical Science degree, now enrolling for 2025. Our guest today is Lisa Gables, who currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer for the American Academy of PAs. Lisa has been with the AAPA since 2012, having served as Chief Financial Officer and Chief Development Officer from May 2012 through September 2020. She was appointed as CEO in September of 2020 and has been leading the organization through the pandemic and a new focus on expanding the profession's licensure throughout the country. Lisa, thank you so much for being here with us today. We are very excited. This has been a long time coming, having you as a guest here on the show.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I appreciate it.
Let's start with a question. Tell us a little bit about how you became involved with the PA profession.
I actually came to this profession in 2012 from another healthcare association. I've been involved in healthcare my entire career in different aspects, both in the private sector and in the nonprofit sector. And I came to this profession because when I looked around at all the healthcare professions, I didn't really know much about who PAs were at that time. But in my research, I found that this is one of the fastest growing, even back then, professions that I had ever seen. And I have a personal bent toward underserved populations, aging communities, that sort of thing. And I just really gravitated toward this profession, who I saw being across the spectrum of care delivery models in a variety of practice settings and a variety of specialties, and felt like this was a place that I needed to be to help them better understand the aging population and where we're going from here.
I really share that. I have a master's degree in social gerontology. I think that's a shared passion for both of us. And I think this is a great position for people who, have a passion for access to care, particularly for the aging. Okay, so you are the CEO of the American Academy of Physician Associates. So tell us, what is the American Academy of Physician Associates?
The American Academy of Physician Associates, or AAPA, as we call it for short, is the actual national professional society for the members, PAs, physician associates, physician assistants. We represent the full profession of more than 178,000, almost 179,000 PAs today. And a lot of what we do is really to advocate and educate on behalf of the profession. We are certainly involved in how we make sure that PAs are better equipped to serve the patients that they see. We want to make sure that PAs have an opportunity for professional growth, personal excellence, and really just recognition of the profession as a whole inside the entire healthcare ecosystem. Of course, our mission, which I like to quote, is we lead the profession and empower our members to advance their careers and enhance patient health. So that's who we are.
So what would you say are the ways that you engage members? How do you listen to the members? How do you get information from the members so that you can more effectively advocate for them?
We have lots of communication methods in which people can communicate with us. We have a little tool called the Huddle, which some people have seen. It's essentially a listening tool for us and allows people to have conversations amongst themselves for the profession. We have a customer care department that people could call us or email us or text us to find out what's on their minds, what things that they're having trouble with. We do have many outreach efforts that we do with members. We also with students, we come to PA programs, we speak there. So we have lots of different ways, Stephanie, to hear from PAs. Certainly, I'm open at any point to talk to a member directly or even a non-member directly. We do surveys of members. We do surveys of non-members. We find out what they're interested in and what they want to know. And then, of course, one of the biggest things that we have here is approximately 100 constituent organizations, which are representatives of state chapters, special interest groups, caucuses, specialty groups of PAs across the country. And a lot of our feedback comes through that channel into our advocacy effort and other things that we do for them. So it's really a very diverse set of communication abilities that we have to make sure we know where members are.
So you said that you represent physician assistants and physician associates, and that's reflective of kind of a hot button issue at the moment, and that is the name change for the profession. Can you talk a little bit about that name change and where we are in the process of switching from physician assistant to physician associate? And is there a difference between physician assistants and physician associates?
There is no technical difference between physician associate and physician assistant, just so we're clear in terms of how you graduate from your program, that kind of thing. What we decided, or the House of Delegates decided actually a number of years ago, was that the name physician associate better represented who PAs are and what they actually do. It's always a concern when you think about how you present yourself to a patient so that they understand who you are. And the term assistant is not really indicative of what a PA actually does. We don't assist physicians. We're part of a medical team. We're highly educated medical professionals who deliver very high quality care in a team-based environment. So we felt that associate better represented who PAs were. And in fact, in doing this work, we hired an external research firm called Kantar Research, who surveyed lots of people. 71% of patients actually agreed that the term physician associate matched the description of what a PA does. And over 61% of physicians surveyed agreed that physician associate matched the job description. And of course, since that time, we've been doing a lot of work on the back end from the corporate standpoint with the constituent organizations to get the title changed. Now we're the American Academy of Physician Associates. And just this past year, just a few weeks ago, Oregon actually changed the title in its legislation. So this demonstrates now that we've got one state where the policymakers there are understanding how this makes a difference and how PAs contribute to overall healthcare. And I will say, coming very soon, actually, we are going to be announcing 5 states that we think are prime and ready for title change, and we'll begin that legislative process next year. Not to say that others can't come and we'll help them, but we've done some analysis and have identified about 5 states that we think have a good chance at getting title change next year.
So in the meantime, I've had a lot of people ask me, so what do I call myself? Do I call myself a physician assistant? Do I call myself a physician associate? I know that as a program director of a program, I'm reading a lot of applications to our program and I see a little bit of both. What's the process? Because this is going to take some time for this name change to occur. It's certainly not going to be an overnight thing, and it's not just one single push of a button that's going to make this happen. So in the meantime, what's the right terminology?
The right terminology, if you're in clinical practice, is whatever your hospital says it is. We certainly don't want to violate hospital protocols, bylaws, etc. So you must make sure when you're representing yourself with a patient, you're using the terminology that matches your employer and your state. So that was first and foremost. Secondarily, when you're out talking with your friends or your colleagues, call yourself a physician associate. We certainly think that it's time now that we unveil this to the world. We've had many marketing efforts and a lot of consumer-facing efforts where we've used this terminology, so it should not be unfamiliar. I know that a lot of people just use the acronym PA, and that's fine too. And I think one of the major things I've learned, Stephanie, over the past 12 years I've been here is that when I first started, I had to explain what a PA was to many people I talked to. Now, I don't have to explain myself anymore. People know who PAs are. And I think the associate title just reinforces the great work that PAs do. So I think that it's a little bit of a question. As far as programs are concerned, we want programs to start changing the title of the program. So when you graduate, you will graduate with a physician associate degree. It's going to take time, as you mentioned. But we are working actually on a toolkit for program directors and faculty to help them understand. At this time, we've had, I believe it's 8 or 9 PA programs change their title, and we do anticipate more coming. And we're happy to give assistance where needed and also to connect programs with people who've done this to find out how they did it. So it will make it easier for programs to move forward.
Definitely a lot of work in the future to get that done, but I know that we will just keep marching forward with that. The AAPA has just a lot of things that you're working on. I know a lot of irons in the fire at any given time. So aside from the work on the name change, what are some of the other things that the association is focusing on? And what are some of the key challenges that you think are facing the profession right now?
Of course, one of our main goals we talked about earlier is advocacy. We work tirelessly all year long, even when legislative sessions are not actually in session, to modernize the laws and remove outdated language and unnecessary barriers to PA practice. This is a huge challenge. It's been a challenge. This is nothing new. It's something that we're constantly working on and want to see the needle move in a variety of states. The other problem that we do see is the entire country having a workforce challenge. And we're very fortunate with the PA profession growing, one of the fastest growing professions in the country. That's a good thing, but it's not solving the overall problem of the increase in demand for patient care. So we work with other allies in this arena to try to improve not only who PAs are, the knowledge of who PAs are in the healthcare workforce, but also just how to solve some of these crises we see. We have just announced back in earlier this year in February, a new initiative, a movement, if you will, called Health Force. And it's designed to showcase all health professions, making them all practice to the top of everyone's license and training so that we're actually breaking down some of these barriers of access to care. And so there's a lot of synergy there in terms of how we'll apply the advocacy effort that AAPA does along with what Health Force is going to do that we hope will break down some of those barriers faster. The other thing, of course, is diversifying the profession. That is a problem that we have worked on for a long time and continue to find new ways to work on. We feel like addressing the disparities of care, diversifying the profession is going to help with that problem. People want to see someone that looks like them, that understands them. And that's another piece that we're highly involved in now to try to keep that ball rolling. So there's just so much going on, Stephanie. A lot of new grants that we have in this area of diversifying the healthcare workforce called PA Pathways. We have a lot of new educational products coming out. It's all over the map, Stephanie.
The work is endless, I'm sure. Let's take a quick break for a word from our episode supporter, Southern Illinois University Medicine Online Doctor of Medical Science degree. Are you ready to move forward in your career? Enroll in the Online Doctor of Medical Science degree with Southern Illinois University Medicine. In 1 year, they can help you refine your clinical and scholarly skills and help you become a better advocate and leader. You can earn up to 37 Category 1 CME credits for your coursework without leaving your job or your family behind. Apply today. To learn more, visit the website at siumed.edu/DMSC and register for the next virtual information session. When our podcast first started, we really designed the podcast for pre-PA students, but we also know that we have a pretty large contingent of listeners who are PA educators. So when you think about PA educators and PA programs, how can PA programs best support the work of AAPA? What do you see as the best way that educators can get involved and help you in your work?
Thank you for that question. I think there's a lot of synergy between what we do, particularly when you think about that evolution from a pre-PA to a student to a practicing PA. So there's a lot of things that we have on our side to do that, but we do rely on the programs to help educate their students and pre-PAs about who we are and the tools and resources that we have. I think, for example, things like advocacy training. We know that when we get a student who can become passionate about their own profession and want to advocate for themselves as a student, that will translate into advocacy when they become an actual practicing PA or an educator. So there's just a lot of things in opening the eyes, if you will. We, of course, have many student chapters. So I think having programs engage there and helping their students see the value of being part of a student chapter. Of course, we have the student leadership side, the student board of directors that we really encourage. Those people tend to go on to higher positions within APA and within the profession overall. And then leadership, learning how to be a leader. Inside the program, we teach, of course, after the fact, but we think that leadership qualities are something that can be and should be taught in PA school, in addition to all the clinical training they receive. And the last thing I would say, Stephanie, is wherever the quote business of medicine can be plugged in a little. I've heard that a lot from educators, that if they had more time to train, they would add in the business of medicine, because when you come out of PA school, you often don't have an understanding of what a contract might be or things like this. Lots of things that some PL faculty are really good at doing this, and others maybe need some assistance. And we're happy to work with you too there, because we have a lot of those kind of programs. So I think advocacy, the business of medicine, and leadership are the top three areas I would highlight of how we can work together better.
Yeah, I think that's really true. It's one thing to teach a student how to be a great PA, but if you're not preparing them for the environment in which they're going to be working, that's a pretty big gap in their knowledge and their readiness to go out and practice medicine. In addition to what PA programs can do, one of the things that I hear from students, and particularly pre-PA students, is, should I join AAPA as a student member or as a pre-PA? They ask, what's in it for me and how does this benefit me? So you're speaking to our pre-PA audience who are contemplating a PA membership. What would you say to them is a benefit to our pre-PAs for being a member of APA?
Sure. Stephanie, just so you're aware, the pre-PA category is a relatively new one. I was absolutely amazed at how many people joined immediately. There's a huge appetite for learning about the PA profession, and a pre-PA membership is something where you can get into that and be with the peer network, and also have connections to students, and then also to practicing PAs who want to be mentors. I would absolutely say, if students are interested in PA school and don't really know what it's all about, becoming a pre-PA member of AAPA will help them learn quickly and meet other people like them. The same thing is true for students. I think there's a lot of connectivity that they get inside their program based on the way the program is designed. But I think having access to other students across the country is also important. Again, from that networking, that leadership development point of view. So they're both very important categories. And actually, when you think about the population, they're the highest population we have in relation to the total. It was super exciting. We have over 4,000 pre-PAs and over 20,000 students. Very exciting for us, and we'd love to have more.
Absolutely. That's the future of our profession. It's getting them involved and engaged. And as you said, teaching them advocacy, because we need that grassroots advocacy. It's our professional associations can do a lot, and we need our professional associations working at the top of the pyramid to work on things at a federal level and at state levels. But it's that grassroots advocacy that really we need to be able to advocate for our profession, to continue to not only retain the rights and privileges that we have, but also to continue to grow as a profession.
One other thing, Stephanie, just about that, I should have added, something else that I have seen in the last year or so, particularly from the pure PAs and students, has to do with the future of healthcare and technology and AI specifically. And I am of the belief that as we start to progress forward in the next 5 to 10 years, the role of the PA in how they do their jobs with regard to AI and technology development is going to change. And it's something that we are very interested in understanding and how to progress with that or ahead of it, so that we're making sure that we've got the resources that PAs and pre-PAs and students are going to need coming down the line. And I also think that the program should also be thinking about that. I'm sure that you already are, but it's really something that I think we should work together on, because there's so much excitement. We had a session at our annual conference on this, and I happened to be sitting next to a student award winner. And I kept saying to her, this is you. These things that are being shown on the screen that look like science fiction, you are going to be doing these things in your career, in your lifetime. And she was taking notes and pictures of the screen, and it was so exciting to see her enthusiasm of this. And so I think we would be remiss if we didn't address those issues with particularly the students and the pre-PAs to get them excited about what's going to happen in the future.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. I think if the PA education community isn't thinking about this, and I know that they are, I know that our program and I know that PAEA is already looking at where healthcare is headed, because we have to be thinking about that at the education level to say it's fine to teach PAs to practice medicine how it's being practiced today, but we have to be able to see around that corner. We have to think about, okay, but what's coming down the pike and how are we going to best prepare our graduates to go out and and be prepared to practice in the healthcare environment that they can anticipate in their careers.
Yes, absolutely.
One thing that I know about leadership is that oftentimes leadership starts with a little bit of a push or a nudge by someone. And I know that AAPA, along with other associations, benefit a great deal from a volunteer involvement. And a lot of times people are intimidated to get involved in a national association because it feels a little scary, and they see the president and the board of directors and those seem really overwhelming. But most people don't end up as the president of AAPA or on the board of directors or in one of the higher level positions overnight. You don't just run for the president of AAPA without some other involvement. And I feel like leadership sort of begets leadership, and, you kind of start on a committee or another opportunity. So if someone is thinking about just getting involved in AAPA, what does that look like? What are some opportunities for somebody to dip their toe in the pool?
We have all kinds of opportunities, Stephanie. We have hundreds of volunteers that help us on all sorts of things, issues. We have formal committee and commission structures. We have, as you mentioned, the sort of the leader at the highest level, the leadership level where people can run for office. But everyday mentors, that's another way to get involved in leadership by taking on a mentorship role. We have a mentor match program, for example. Another thing I would say is get involved in your state association and be involved at the local level on making change happen in your own state. That is a lot of sometimes the progression path that people come through, but we are constantly looking for volunteers. The other thing we do is we ask for subject matter expert volunteers. We're always looking for people who have expertise in a particular area. That is a growing part of our volunteerism, whether it's something we want you to speak on or write a paper or be part of a task force or a thought leadership group. There's lots of things going on. A lot of those things are out on our website, but a lot of them are specifically you just making yourself known. When you're a member, you have the opportunity to tell us what your expertise is. And we put that in our database and we can search it and we can find you if you've put yourself out there as wanting to help us in some way. I would say advocacy is another place where volunteer leadership is critical. Grassroots effort, writing your congressman, just as simple as that. If you can't do anything else, that's an easy thing to do to volunteer for. And we actually measure that kind of engagement with PAs out there. And the last thing I would say is join, be a member. That's in and of itself a step in the right direction to becoming a leader and being engaged and actively involved in what we do.
So one of the big discussions that this profession has been having for quite some time now is the potential switch to a doctoral degree and doctoral level of preparation. Can you talk a little bit about some of the conversations that are going on with AAPA and what the official stance is on the doctoral degree right now and where you see that going?
As you probably are aware, AAPA does recognize that PA education is conducted at the graduate level, and we do support the awarding of the master's degree as the terminal degree, and that's what's in our policy. However, I would say that every healthcare profession that we need to assess what the landscape might look like for a doctoral degree as a terminal degree. But in the meantime, we know that PAs are lifelong learners. They're people who are curious about things. And so we absolutely wholeheartedly support people who wish to get a doctoral degree, whatever kind of doctoral degree they wish to get. So it is something that we certainly applaud and think that PAs should do if they have the time and energy to do it. So that's what we think about it.
All right, great. Before we close, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to send a parting message, or if there's anything that we didn't get the chance to chat about that you hoped we would be able to discuss. The floor is yours for any kind of parting words you might have.
Thanks, Stephanie, for that. I think that I would just say becoming a member of AAPA is very important. I think that whether you're a pre-PA, a student, or an active PA, or an educator, it's really important to stay involved with your profession and help us move the needle forward. Advocacy is such a big part of what we do on your behalf. It helps you with your career status. It helps you with education, all the things that you need to have as a PA. So I'd say just make sure you get involved, be a member. I would also say just make sure that keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're thinking. Tell us what you're missing. We're out here for you. That's why we exist. So that's what I would just say to remind your audience that we're here for you.
Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We want to thank Lisa for her time and insights on the American Academy of PAs. Her passion for the profession is a strong reason for the continued success of this organization. We also want to extend a special thank you to Southern Illinois University Medicine Online Doctor of Medical Science degree for their support of this podcast. Visit siumed.edu/DMSC to learn more and apply. Tune in next time as we speak with leaders of the profession both nationally and internationally.